And it's why tonight, the Muscatine County LGBTQIA+ Equality Coalition is hosting a vigil. It'll begin at 7 p.m. at Faith United Church of Christ in Muscatine. But before it begins, we have Jessica Brackett with the Equality Coalition joining us today. Jessica, thank you so much for being here with us. I want to start with what you have planned for the vigil tonight.
Yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about the law that was passed and how that affects transgender and non-binary Iowans. We're going to hear from some trans folks in Muscatine County, and then we're going to go over the history of civil rights in Iowa, because we want to look at this in the long term, because Iowa really has a history of protecting Iowans, and that's what we want to leave with folks tonight.
Yeah, what do you hope comes out of tonight's vigil? What do you want people to walk away feeling?
Well, we want the trans community in Muscatine to know that they're supported. We want the general public to know that there are people in Muscatine that are directly impacted by these laws and they'll be losing their rights. And we want our elected officials to know that this community is here and we matter, and that the actions that they've taken are harming their constituents.
Well, I wanted to ask you, was this already in the works when Iowa passed the Civil Rights Code law, or how did that come about?
Yeah, after the law was passed, we decided we needed to do something as a community, and that's how this started.
So how did you get connected with Faith United Church of Christ?
Well, they actually were one of our founding members of the Muscatine County LGBTQIA plus Equality Coalition. We had about 6 organizations to start with, and now I think we're up to 9 or 10, and we're about to add a few more. So we just keep growing, and we've had support from churches. We've got student groups, we've got community organizations involved, and we're starting to add businesses.
Well, earlier you had mentioned history, and when we were talking before the show, you talked about how tonight's vigil is really nothing new to Muscatine. What did you mean by that?
Well, Muscatine actually was home to a lawsuit that actually desegregated Iowa schools. So that's something Muscatine can be really proud of, but really it's Iowa's history. Iowa has a long history of giving people their civil rights. In 1838, unmarried women were allowed to own land in Iowa. And in the matter of Ralph, the next year, they decided that if a slave made it to Iowa, they would not have to be returned to slavery. In addition to the school segregation case that I mentioned, let's see, the University of Iowa was also one of the first universities in the country to have an LGBT group, and one of the first to add sexual orientation to their discrimination policy. And then, of course, we've got in 2007, the Iowa legislature actually added sexual orientation and gender identity to the state code. And that's also the year we passed the Safe Schools bill to add sexual orientation and gender identity to discrimination policies. And then after that, of course, in 2009, we won marriage equality. So we are hoping to show people that this is a dark spot in Iowa's history, and it's harming Iowans. And we hope that in the near future, this will end, that we will have trans people, we will have gender identity back in our policies, and we'll be protecting Iowans again.
Well, Jessica, before I let you go, beyond tonight's vigil, how else do you all think that the community can step up for members of the LGBTQ+ community?
Well, often discrimination happens right out in real life at a store. If somebody's looking for housing or a job, folks can step up and actually help folks who may think that they've been discriminated against. Like if you have a friend who thinks that they're being discriminated against in a job, you can have your friend call and apply for that job and check in on those things. You can actually test what's going on out in the world and how people reply. And I think we're going to have to start doing that, especially after July 1 when this law goes into effect.
Well, Jessica, I know you guys have put a ton of hard work into tonight's vigil. Best of luck. We hope for a fantastic turnout for you all.
Thank you.